Hi everyone. Today we are starting a new series. In this series, we will learn the fundamentals of system design, particularly high level design. Our goal is to understand how real world systems are built to support millions of users. But we need to understand the basics first. So we'll start with a simple single server setup and gradually scale it step by step. Along the way, we'll explore important and interesting system design concepts used in the industry. So, without much delay, we'll start our first topic. Single server setup. Building complex systems is a journey. And like any long journey, it starts with a single step, a simple step, where everything runs on one server. Web application, database, etc. Everything in a single server. If we look here, user is trying to access a website through a domain name using a web browser. But browser doesn't know the server's IP. Why we need IP address? Because IP address is something computers use to identify each other on the network. Is the way the servers identify each other. To send requests to actual web server, we need IP address of that server. So first, it will conduct DNS, that is domain name system. You can imagine DNS like a phone book of internet, a naming database in which internet domain names are located and translated into IP addresses. Some of the well-known DNS providers are Google DNS, Cloudflare, Quart9, etc. So what happens here now? This DNS provider maps your domain name to server's IP address and it will send it back to web browser. Once the browser receives the IP address, it will send an HTTP request directly to web server. Now web server will process the request and provides a response. It can be JSON or HTML pages. And that's the simple single server setup and its workflow. Imagine our website is getting popular and there is more incoming traffic. As more users join the system, one server is no longer enough. So what we do? We split the system into two parts. One server to handle web request and another to manage data. This decoupling enables web tier and data tier to scale independently. As we see here, once the web server receives the request, if the request involves database read or write operations, it interacts with the database server. This leads to an important question. Which database should we choose here? To answer this, we'll explore different types of databases and understand their key characteristics. Mainly, we have three categories: relational database, non-relational database, and there's a new category called new SQL database. We'll go through each one of them. First, we'll look into relational database, also known as SQL database. Here, data is organized into tables, and each table contains columns and rows. Column represents fields or attributes, example ID, name, age, etc. And rows represent individual data records, and each row represents one entity. Example, assume we have customer table. Here, customer ID, name, age and email are columns, and one row represent one entity here. And for storing, retrieving and modifying data in this relational database, we use something called structured query language or SQL. And some of the popular relational databases are PostgreSQL, MySQL, Oracle database. Coming to the merits of relational databases. SQL databases allow complex join operation across multiple tables. What is join? A join lets you fetch data that is spread across multiple tables by linking them through a related column. Let's understand this with an example. Suppose we have two tables, users table and orders table. Users table has user ID and name. Orders table has order ID, user ID and amount. To get user name along with the order, we use a join on user ID because that is a common or related column between both the tables. And we have SQL queries for this. That's one of the advantage of relational database. Other than this, one important advantage of SQL databases is data consistency. SQL databases provide data consistency across transactions. Now, what is a transaction? A group of one or more operations executed as single unit of work is called transaction. An example to understand it. Think of a bank transfer. Behind the scenes, many small operations take place, debiting from one account, crediting another account, updating balances, recording logs. But to the user, the transaction either completes fully, that is, money is deducted from one account and it is added to another account, or it doesn't happen at all. This reliability makes SQL databases ideal for financial applications. And how it is achieved? Because transactions in SQL follows ACID principles. We'll understand one by one. A for atomicity. A transaction is treated as a single unit. Either all operations succeed or it completely fails. There is no midway for it. That is atomicity. C for consistency. Before the transactions, database will be in a valid state. After transaction also, it should be in a valid state. So a transaction brings the database from one valid state to another, following all rules and constraints. I for isolation. In a database, at the same time, multiple transactions might occur, and it should not interfere with each other. Concurrent transactions do not interfere with each other. That is isolation. And the last one, durability. Once the transaction is committed, the changes are permanently saved. Even in case of system failure or anything, that saved changes will be permanent. Thank you guys for listening. We will see for next session. Till then, happy learning.